is the desire to go further, deeper into the human psyche, until we cannot remember we are human. No matter how content, our brains crave this adventure into consciousness, deep in the mind, to see what else is in there. An escape from what we call reality, only to be deeper in reality than you've ever been. A never-ending spiritual quest, the quest for the ultimate truth. Can we handle this truth? Maybe. The more we step back and consider this self-discovery as an archaeological dig, you can't just pull out bones and toss them. You have to dust the fossil gently. This takes time, and you might make mistakes, even with the most priceless relic. However, the further we dig, the more unsettling these emotions can become. You have to stay grounded and work on your root chakra. You can't climb a ladder from the top. Start slow with the ego. An ego isn't a bad thing. Even writing this, I'm writing as having an ego of peace and love. The ego is attached to you in this human experience. Ego death can be transformative, but you can't stay in ego death forever. You need balance, rather than dissolving it, as you would be dissolving your true power. The nature of the ego is natural. You have to remember to separate your energy from others. Everyone, to a certain extent, is an empath. The magnetic field that transcends the human body resonates within the field of others. If you constantly absorb all the energy around you, you're going to be tired. The ego says, that's not me. Although on a molecular level, we are the same stardust. On this planet Earth, our conscious experience of being a human is like a fingerprint. Every perspective is a different reality in this dimension of the mind. The goal to balance the ego is to love. You can recognize you are not the person next to you, but you can love them just as if you were. However, with the ego, you're protected. If you feel you need to block someone for your mental health, do it. The ego says, I don't like this person. And you know what? That's natural. The ego judges these energies. When working with your natural gut instinct and an awareness of oneself with consciousness, you can make the best decision for you. Why? Because you are important, even your ego. The ego makes decisions that are realistic. You may pray or listen to affirmations on the spiritual level, but you still have to eat breakfast. It is important to mention that the ego definition changes depending on the broad spectrum of spirituality, scientifically, and parts of the human psyche. I'm speaking of the sense of oneself and the emotions and rationality. Many people throw the ego word for anything bad, but this abstract concept is still a part of you, and you shouldn't hate a part of you or try to get rid of it instead of acceptance. If you feel an uncomfortable thought from the ego, use your awareness to step back and literally ask yourself, what is this? How can I heal this part of me? You'd be surprised at how your ego will respond. And it can even respond through pictures or sensations, whatever arises, love it. Just like you would with a pet or a loved one that's sick. You don't yell at them for mistakes. You embrace a solution. For the intrusive thoughts you can't control, that are beyond a normal ego, I recommend this little trick I use. I get the negative thought, I do not judge it or myself. I say in my mind's voice, just a figment of my imagination. I went from crying every day for my thoughts to slowly taking the charge out. Eventually I realized I only had to say it 1 to 5 times a day instead of constantly. It worked so well, I'm able to forget what was wrong in a matter of seconds. Control the ego instead of fighting to remove it. If you do have constant intrusive thoughts that disrupt your everyday life, please tell your doctors and receive the proper treatment such as medications and therapy. But in the meantime, this helped me personally. I hope this interpretation of the ego is informative, and I wish you well. Starmat Lovey.